Army forces operating in complex, densely populated urban terrain in dense urban areas is the toughest and bloodiest form of combat, and it will become the norm, not the exception in the future. General Mark Milley, Army Chief of Staff. The world's population is growing at an unprecedented rate, and trends in migration show that around 60% of people will live in urban areas by the year 2030. The United Nations predicts we will see over 40 megacities, which are defined as cities with more than 10 million residents, by 2030. In addition to megacities, pockets of dense urban terrain can be found in most urban areas. Dense urban terrain is characterized by extraordinary, closely packed man-made infrastructure, both social and physical interconnectedness, and high population density. This includes concentrations of high-rise buildings, often with subterranean features, and densely packed slum concentrations. Dense urban terrain presents a litany of challenges our military has never faced. The uncontrolled urban sprawl makes it difficult to plan and execute operations, while minimizing civilian casualties and the displacement of the local population. Operations are made more complex by the radical geometry of dense urban terrain. Forces must be able to quickly and decisively move from the extremes of a skyscraper to a subterranean structure. These three-dimensional spaces in urban environments will provide additional opportunities for maneuver, but they present a departure from the horizontal target engagement that Army maneuver forces are accustomed. Subterranean environments present their own unique challenges to Army operations, especially regarding maneuver, fires, protection, and intelligence. Impenetrable traffic congestion can make quick navigation of the city by our forces nearly impossible. Our adversaries are no longer easily identifiable, especially when they live and operate within the civilian population. Conventional forces and paramilitary organizations both operate within these dense urban terrains, and the high concentration of civilians in confined areas allows terrorists to inflict massive casualties and chaos. The rise of criminal networks and black markets only adds to the sense of chaos and discontent within the population. Social, political, religious, and cultural dynamics can result in uprisings and deadly violence and force our military into security assistance missions. A high level of connectedness is a key component of dense urban terrain. Cities exhibit both external and internal connectedness. External connectedness via the internet leads to global visibility and awareness of events, which makes isolating dense urban terrain impossible. Internal connectedness arises from the relationships that connect population, terrain, and infrastructure, defining the structure and behavior of the city. The exponential rise of technology and the high connectedness of dense urban terrain has led to a new domain in which our adversaries can operate. Cyber networks allow for the instantaneous exchange of information and delivery of effects to people, organizations, and infrastructure. These digital attacks have the potential to impact critical U.S. communications and infrastructure. They can influence the population and degrade military operations. The U.S. Army and its joint partners must be prepared to operate in dense urban terrain and continue to improve our capabilities. It's not a question of if, but when. Multi-domain battle, a concept being developed by the U.S. Army and U.S. Marines, will be critical to understanding how to win across domains in any environment, including dense urban terrain. Gaining access across domains to conduct operations will be a joint force challenge as dense urban terrain expands in the littoral areas of the world. Our Army must be able to fight as part of a joint and multinational team. It must also have interagency support to bring our nation's full power to the fight, including diplomacy, civil services, military power, humanitarian assistance, and cultural influences. The Battle of Mosul is a recent example of this type of joint and multinational effort. A U.S.-led coalition comprising of Iraqi, French, Canadian, and Australian forces, along with air support from nations such as Jordan and the U.K., combined to conduct a fierce urban battle to remove the Islamist state of Iraq and Syria from the city. This isn't just about armed conflict, though. Humanitarian assistance and disaster relief are equally critical for the Army and the Joint Force. Relief missions for disasters such as Hurricanes Katrina, Harvey, and Irma, as well as the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear reactor leak, show the importance of our forces being adequately prepared to operate, given any contingency, within dense urban areas. These natural disasters can result in billions of dollars in damage, and the relief efforts often require tens of thousands of troops. These massive cities present logistical challenges that are amplified when natural disasters destroy existing infrastructure and cut off supplies to the population. Crime has the potential to skyrocket as citizens fight for dwindling resources. And as populations grow and migrate to dense urban areas, the level of devastation from natural disasters, such as floods, earthquakes, tsunamis, and droughts, will only increase dramatically. Dense urban terrain conflicts are nothing new, but the challenges are growing more complex every day. As our adversaries continue to evolve and threaten to neutralize our strengths, we must adapt our own strategies, technologies, and training to stay ahead of the fight. U.S. forces must be trained to operate and win in this quagmire of congested roadways, overflowing slums, and mazes of subterranean infrastructures, all the while minimizing civilian casualties. U.S. forces must be prepared to fight and win on the future battlefield and ensure we stay ahead of current and emerging threats. Dense urban terrain is where the future fight will take place, and every soldier must be prepared to operate in this environment. America's Army must succeed in 21st century urban operations, and it must do what it can to ensure the consequences of dense urban terrain operations are not measured in years or decades. The challenge of preparing for those operations will require the best of the U.S. Army's thinking, innovation, and leadership. Think, adapt, anticipate. The Asymmetric Warfare Group.